Hello everybody and welcome back once again to Super Metroid Redesign Axeil Edition, and hooray for Metroids because yay, those have always been the best thing here. We're actually going to make progress, which I know is surprising being this is redesign, but you know, eventually you have to make some progress somewhere. So, yeah, as you can see, right after the save room, and again, this might just be in early. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is just in these earlier versions. 3 Metroid room. I believe these only, once again, exist now in the feeding pit in the current versions, which are coming up very shortly. Yeah, there's Death Laser. That Death Laser in particular is one that is not really well placed. See, like this one up here. You can kind of see that one. Of course, this is a purple door because why not? And you can see the change in tile set. But basically, if you make progress back through these rooms, which are the feeding pit areas, you can tell by the difference in the tile set. Once you make progress back through these rooms, you kind of want to go back and save, because when you pass them, the Metroids will never respawn. The problem being that going back through that door, if you forget to jump through that door, you're going to fall into the Death Laser, which I almost did on this one too. Which again is kind of a blind thing, which you do have the camera scrolling thing, which I actually did not know about till much later. If you read the README though, it should be in there. And if it's not in there, well, there's no excuse for this. But yeah, still as of right now, the 1.4 version is the newest. And these Metroid rooms still, the Metroids still act like this in that new version. At least in this area, so just keep that in mind if you're playing this. And there are 3 Metroid rooms back here. So, yeah. I mean, this is going someplace doing all that fun stuff. Something I actually would recommend for trying to work with these things. Basically, you want to destroy one and not pick up any of its pickups. Or leave some there so it doesn't respawn. And then, the idea is to get the other 2 off of you and destroy them both in the next round before the pickups despawn from the first Metroid you destroyed. So like this. Destroyed one, and I was able that time to do it the same round because they had a fuller stun timer. So yeah, I mean, you spend 4 hours trying to mess with these Metroids. Eventually, you're going to find a way that works. Also, hooray for another 3 Metroid room. This time in less space, because that's always fun. Yeah, I would actually not like to know what in the world was going through his head when he made these. Because this is just... I do not know what convinces somebody that this is okay. Oh yes. Look at that. The one time I can actually freeze them, they are hiding off in the ceiling. Yet more fun times with Metroids because, you know, that just goes in with the rest of this hack. But something else to keep in mind, which I was being kind of silly and picking up pickups here. I was actually kind of hoping for ammo when I was doing that, because my supers, as you can see, are very low. Which again, thanks to purple doors everywhere, is not an uncommon thing. and supers have been how I've been destroying these things. So I'm trying to get supers back. Which again, Drew does not recommend supers because even he realizes how useless they are. So yeah, okay, yeah, you don't have to jump to this door. That's not a surprise death pit. This one might be if you go through this door. Okay, no, this one does not have the surprise. See, like he has a little ledge on this door. Why don't you have a little ledge on the other door that's straight across from the save station? That... I don't know. It's kind of like the save room in Hyper after Phantoon. It's like, oh, you beat the hardest boss in the game? Fine, the save will no longer work. It's just silly. But eventually, you'll make it past these things if you care to. Yeah, another issue, like with your ammo, your supers, or whatnot, and look at this. This Metroid is stunned, and I can't hardly shoot it. That's just great. Oh yeah, and of course, you know, you can't leave the room with a Metroid on you, so... whatever. But yeah, with ammo... see, I'm kind of getting close to the thing, but with the lack of supers, if you're doing something similar and you're running out, you'll probably end up wanting to go back and refill. Well, the refill station is all the way back. The Metroids won't respawn. But if you can't really deal with these things without the supers or whatever, or you need ammo for purple doors, you have to travel a long way back and go back to the beginning of terrain, refill your missiles and things and at that refill station, then come all the way back to where you were and deal with more things. So yeah, that missile method is the way Drew recommends and claims it is very easy. Also, these side hoppers are again one of the big issues I have with terrain, not because they exist. No, they're perfectly fine, they're even in the original. The issue I have with them is screw attack. It does not work in terrain in the original. You have the side hoppers, which you can only hit with super missiles. But you can screw attack through them without any consequences. Basically, it's a safe zone. You break even. You don't get hit, you don't hit it. You can move around, whatever, try and get past them, do whatever. Not the case in this hack at all. Because, you know, that whole make it so people can beat it just doesn't fit with the idea of redesign. So everything knocks you out of screw attack. Metroids can latch onto you. The Rinkas can knock you out. Side hoppers can knock you out. And yes, you cannot shoot this. Because again, skipping things at redesign is like the worst thing ever. I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in the Bible as like one of the 7 sins. You have to have a power bomb, so that way, you know, because the screw attack increases your forward momentum and all that fun stuff. Also, yes, the beam did show up back there. There's a reason for that. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, because of that, you have to lay a power bomb so you can't skip the big Metroid. Because again, this hack is already slow and tedious enough. Performing an already difficult trick is just out of the question because, you know, it might save 2 seconds. And that's 2 seconds you could be spending having fun, and I put fun in very heavy quotation marks, with this hack. So yeah, once you get through the feeding pit, you have another save. Back here you also have a refill station, so now you have refills on each end of Redesign, which is good because you're going to need them. Now the fun part, the second fun part I should say, begins. And yes, you see stuff in there. That's coming into play very soon-ish, I believe. I actually don't remember if it's coming up right now or a little bit later. But it's coming up. It's something you have to do. Oh yeah, acid, because why not? Okay, so yes, it is coming up. So, again, we have the death laser. That is the death laser we need to get rid of. Yeah, and I almost jumped right into that. Of course, the death laser wasn't enough. There has to be a purple door right behind it, so, you know, you have a reason to go back to that recharge station and waste even more time. So yeah, that beam that went through the wall is actually going to be something we need. So yeah, there's a morph tunnel going on through here. It's like, oh, and there's a thing. Not exactly obvious. If I didn't care to look for that beam going through the wall, that would not be a very obvious thing. But again, this is one of the cooler parts of this terrain, is the segments like this. Whenever you're rolling around, this is where it gets the most interesting, where you're rolling around, you're going through the background, you're going past these door connections. And why these weren't just crumble blocks, I don't know. Or why they're blocks, period, I don't know. But that lets you get back here. That took care of the death laser. Now, all these other death lasers we've come across behind purple doors are, I believe, open in the newest version. Not so in this version. In this version, I had to go find each one in the correct order. So, and yeah, this is basically the room that all those other rooms are taken care of, because now there's a whole ton of death lasers in a row. So you've been through terrain and all that. Thankfully the Metroids are gone. But because this hack isn't long enough, this part comes in. And you see, here's what I think would make this terrain so much better and more bearable. First of all, get rid of the Drewseph. That's the most obvious thing right there. Screw attack not being worthless. And then this being the terrain. This hunting for these death lasers. Like going to the end or whatever, unlocking the one death laser to unlock the others. Great. That's fine. There's just some rooms where you have some Metroids. Even redesigned Metroids that are faster. I mean, you come across those while you're going through terrain. You get back here, you see you need these death lasers. You figure out, oh, this thing unlocks the death laser. And then you go back and all that other fun stuff. Finding these death lasers and taking care of them. That would be massive improvement, I think, just based on the fact you're not having so much time wasted in the first half looking for just getting into terrain. Like this part and the very first section, most of the terrain, excluding the Metroids, the Drewseph, and the screw attack being useless. Like that, a lot of this has some very interesting stuff. I just wish it were built better, built so it was less tedious. Because there's a lot of, quite frankly, boring and annoying backtracking in this, which normally isn't such a big deal. But in Redesign, there's just so much of it. It's the same thing over and over, constantly having to go back over stuff and find these little things. And a lot of the puzzles you end up solving are just for like little missile packs. It's the amount of stuff you end up doing in this hack. Like, the rewards you get for it just aren't worth it. Whereas a hack like searching for items, where everything is normal values and everything, and it basically gives you stuff, that is more enjoyable. Even though a little puzzle or something might end up giving you a missile, like, I feel more rewarded from that than I do from doing things in this. Same thing with Axeil, getting the first missile. 575 missiles, that's the only missile pack throughout the whole thing. Solving some of the little puzzles in that feel more rewarding than solving the larger puzzles in this. And here you can see kind of where it's like, oh, I can't actually get this death laser yet. And again, I don't 100% know this for sure, but I do believe that you can destroy this death laser first in the newest version. I think they're all unlocked, which is a good thing. They're not just triggers you have to find in the right order, though. Which, again, I do like this part of it. There is more to it than just finding the triggers and doing them in order. But there's little puzzles like this. Like this kind of puzzle here. And why is that Metroid there? I don't know. But like this little thing. It's like, I can't go straight to it. And you know what? The reason I like this one a lot in particular, you don't have to go all over the stupid area to get to it. It's a couple rooms. You get to the back end of it. You destroy the things. You see it's going off. Now you can go over and destroy it. Knock off one death laser. It's simple, and it's quicker, and it's probably the most effective, like, extra barrier to a death laser in this entire area. It's like, oh, I did that. That was a simple puzzle. You know, I kind of enjoyed that one. That one's okay. So we took care of that one. There's, what, 6 more? 7 more? Something like that. It's just, not enough of that. Like, little simple things. Like, everything has to be so convoluted in this hack that it really takes a lot of the enjoyment out of it. There's not a problem having simple things. It's not, having simple puzzles or whatnot is not a sign that not a lot of thought has been put into the hack or anything like that. It shouldn't be taken like that. It's more just that it works better, it flows better. Like, a lot of the puzzles in this are these super huge, convoluted, and tedious things. Like, in most hacks, the reward for doing something like that would be, say, gravity suit or screw attack or plasma beam. Whereas in Redesign, your reward is normally 2 missiles. And I think this death laser is the last one, which also happens to be one of the furthest away from where you will end up going, because, you know, Redesign, you have to take the longest path possible because reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, overall, the rewards just don't match up with the challenge of the hack. And I don't know. I guess I'll get to more thoughts about some things when I do the review of the hack, but it's really disappointing because, you know, there's a lot of really interesting ideas. The map is really good. It's the best map in a hack. The features in it are really good. Some of the features he's working on, which who knows which version will be out by the time these videos are up. It's just going to be, I don't know, there's good ideas. I know a lot of, well, at least some people say, you know, it's good ideas. The execution was just horrible. I don't know if I'm fit in that same mold. So yeah, this laser's off now. I think that knocks out, like, I think you do pretty much the top ones first and you work your way down. So they kind of go in order like that, I think. I don't know. Like, I didn't check that death laser when I first came in. I don't know if that one's just off when you first get here. I don't think it is. Based on, you find those other death lasers, they still have their, or the triggers, and the death lasers in front of them are still up. I am 99% positive there's just a lot of, or there's an actual sequence you have to do in this version. That one up top is actually another one of the interesting ones. It's slightly hidden well. You obviously can't get to anything from this room. There's nothing going up here. There's some hidden stuff you have to do with that one, which is kind of interesting. You see, if this was terrain, able to explore around, maybe a couple missile door caps, not purple door caps, those should not exist anywhere. But just being able to go around, I mean, you're going to go to the end, eventually find, it's like, oh, these death lasers. Like, someone is not just going to, or maybe one person, will get to the end after destroying all the death lasers first and be like, well, I wonder why I did all that. That's not going to happen. That 99% of people, that's not going to happen. They're going to get to the end and find out, it's like, oh, hey, I have to find the rest of these death lasers. I better go look. I've done some or whatever. And this is... Also, I kind of like this one because it also has sort of another secret to it. But up here somewhere. So yeah, you see there's a path up there. It's like, interesting. And of course there's these giant side hoppers, which you got your super slow and useless supers, which are absolutely worthless. And your screw attack. You can't just screw attack and skip the thing. You're gonna run into it. So yeah, I mean, I kind of know there's something going on. There's something suspicious. There's a thing up there I need to get to somehow. It's not in this room though. But I don't know that. And this X-ray was very hard to get used to. Also, if that background looks like a morph thing, you go in, you are correct. Basically, this is the room. And yeah, that is kind of hidden right there. Thankfully, those side hoppers are not there. So yeah, you've got to shine spark up through that. But you have this lovely hallway to get that in. And if you notice, it kind of, and of course there's a purple door, but if you notice when a shine sparked up, it kind of looked like Samus was moving left and right. I believe that's more part of the control that Drew wants to have over the player, which, honestly, it kind of helps in this case. It's not a terrible thing, because there's a few spots when I was going back and editing things, I think I even made a comment about it once or twice, where it looked like my shine spark moved into the right spot. You know, that's actually kind of helpful, because if you've watched any of my things and you want to shine spark across this, don't try and jump that, you'll die. But if you, that's why you got this lovely hallway here. And now I lost my thought. Oh, yeah, the shine sparks. Yeah, if you've watched any of my stuff, you'll know I've hit corners and edges of shine spark things often. And hey, that destroyed that. See, I like that. It's a little puzzle. Now, the path up here is kind of obscure. But I do like that. I mean, that one's pretty obvious. Like, oh, hey, now I can go get that thing. But there's more fun stuff back here. If you recall that little morph passage, there's actually a thing back here which is required. Again, that little graphical thing there kind of looked like something, is something. I'm more worried about taking care of this death laser. But yeah, the shine spark things are one thing I do like about this. You know, if you shine spark in a spot you're supposed to shine spark, it kind of pushes you, or at least it certainly appears to push you, into the right spot. So you'll go up instead of hit your head on a corner and have to do the thing over again. See, like a feature like that that helps the player out, that's great. A lot of the other stuff in this, though, it's just like it's not trying to help the player out. It's trying to just be like, no, you play it this way, you don't get to do that. It's like, it's kind of surprising that there's something that helps the player out in this, seeing how a lot of his stuff seems to make it so the player can't do something. It's like, you want a short charge? Nope. You want an arm pump, maybe take 2 seconds off the entire hack playthrough? Nope. It's kind of surprising with like the attitude and the hack. It's like, this is how you're going to do it, and it's just tough. Deal with it. With that kind of thing going in the hack, it's kind of surprising that it's like, oh, hey, here's something. Actually help the player out. What a novel idea. It's like, who would ever have thought that might be enjoyable? And Space Jump is the worst piece of garbage in Redesign. I don't know how you could live with Space Jump being like this. And he does have an auto Space Jump. If you just hold the jump button, you will jump in place. You won't gain any height, but you won't lose any either. You'll just stay at that height. But why go through the trouble with that when you could just fix Space Jump so people could actually jump at any point? Because again, that would probably break things in Meridia or whatever. So I don't even. It's just like, why? So that is another one of these things down. There's 3 left. The other question mark in that long tunnel is just the entrance to Mother Brain's room. It's like, oh hey, here's the death lasers you're trying to deactivate. And the other question marks are the actual triggers to deactivate them. So why that's a question mark, I guess it's alright, but because it may make the player look, and it's like, they'll figure it out. It's like, oh, we're trying to deactivate these things. It's like, okay. But, you know, and I wish, like, the beginning section, like all the morphing through the terrain and finding the secret paths through stuff, I actually wish that was part of this. Again, skip that whole beginning stuff, skip the whole Metroid stuff. Just have regular Metroid rooms, let them get to this point, to the end of terrain, and figure out, it's like, oh, I need to deactivate these lasers now. So now you go back, and then all those secret morphing through tunnels and whatnot was part of deactivating these instead of deactivating a couple to get to a save station, which then is basically a third of the way through terrain. Instead, make this all one big segment at the end. Make the early section getting through a much faster, less painful way of going through things and stuff. So I wish it did it like that, but it doesn't. I think that would be a much better way of going about this. But, you know, this is how he did it, so this is what we got. It still does kind of provide a, oh yeah, and this laser's still on, so yeah, that is the last one. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking, you know, this is a sequential order you have to go in. This one deactivates that, this deactivates that, this deactivates that. It's like, oh, not this one, go somewhere else. So either that, or that's just the last death laser, period, that he wanted. And maybe that's still part of 1.4. Again, I don't know. I'm not going back to this hack and revisiting it in the new version to find out. So, yeah, I don't know. Someone who's played version will have to say. So now we got that. I think that other laser up there is now deactivated, so we can unlock the other trigger. I think. Again, this is redesigned, so things may not always seem like that. You might have to defeat Ridley to break something in another area that's completely unrelated. That still bothers me. That's why I bring it up. There is no reason for that. So, yeah, I don't know. It makes me twitch. Okay, so, yeah, this definitely is still here. That question mark over there. Again, more backtracking. Hooray! I wonder if this is... Yeah, you don't morph into this one. I don't believe. Certainly don't believe so. Maybe you do? I don't believe you do. But maybe you do. Now that I think about it, that might be one. Actually? No, I don't think you do. I'm pretty sure you have to deactivate that laser, though, before you do this next thing, because I think I end up getting, quote-unquote, stuck and having to go back to that laser and finding a way to deactivate it. I kind of forget how I ended up doing that. Because right now it's like, oh, I can't actually go to this laser, so maybe I have to go here, all the way over here, back to before Mother Brain to take out this question thing, then go back, deactivate the laser, and then I'll be good. I don't think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure you end up having to deactivate that one laser on the left, then you go back to that tunnel, deactivate like one more thing, and then you get in Mother Brain's room or whatever. I mean, we'll know for sure in the next video. That's not gonna happen on this one, because this one's pretty long as is. And you see, this is actual progress. Like, I've been making progress this whole video. Like, I've been making good progress. I haven't really been getting stuck or anything in terrain. It still comes out to like 35 minutes. That is quite a while to be hunting these things down and making good progress, and I'm not even done yet. So let that sink in for a bit. And we'll see you in the next one.